In the Warhammer 40K universe, power levels range from ordinary soldiers to godlike beings, with each tier marking a staggering leap in strength, influence, and abilities. At the lowest, we see the everyday individual, the human armed with basic weaponry. Moving up, we see Space Marines and then Custodes, Greater Daemons, the mighty war machines like the Imperial Titans, and even Primarchs and the God Emperor. So here in this video, we will showcase the power scaling of the combatants of the Warhammer universe. We will do so by tier levels, starting from tier 1, the weakest, to 10, the most powerful. Let's get to it. Tier 1, the base level. At this tier, we find the weakest units for every faction, those who in most battles are like little more than distractions or fodder for the stronger fighters. Combatants here include ones with minimal or no training at all, with limited intelligence or diminutive physical power, often equipped with improvised or primitive technology. They are sent to the battlefield to swarm, delay, or overwhelm enemies purely through sheer numbers rather than skill or power. In the Imperium, this might include lightly trained planetary defense forces, poorly armed local militias, or press gang civilians barely capable of using their weapons. In the many Xenos factions, these beings serve as utility or support units. For example, Tyranid Rippers are small bioforms deployed to harass and swarm enemies, while Orc Snotlings and Gretchens act as cannon fodder or general servants for larger Orc warriors. The combatants here might be stomped over without much concern, but in an open battle, their persistence can still cause problems when numbers work in their favor. Examples are the human planetary defense forces, the Orc Snotlings and Gretchens, Tyranid Rippers, Necron Scarabs, and small squig types of the Orcs. Next, Tier 2, the battle level. So Tier 2 marks a step up into the ranks of dedicated fighters, basic troops who, while far from being elite, are trained and better armed, with enough resilience and numbers to hold down a battlefield position. These soldiers form the core ranks of nearly every army, and while they may lack advanced weaponry or specialized skills, they are reliable and dangerous in groups. While one-on-one they don't stand a chance against higher tier units, in large groups they can present a credible threat. This tier includes the Imperial Guard, which represents the baseline human soldiers of the Imperium. Guardsmen are better trained and equipped than the PDF, for example. They are armed with lasguns and flak armor that can withstand some damage and deliver reasonable firepower. Other factions have similarly essential troops like the Hormigons for the Tyranids, the Tau Auxiliary Forces, the Young Orc Boys, the Pox Walkers for the Nurgle armies, and the other Chaos Spawns of the Chaos armies. They may lack the strength and resilience of higher tier units, but their numbers and persistence make them key players in most conflicts. Next, Tier 3, Shock Level. Combatants at Tier 3 bring a noticeable increase in threat level, entering the ranks of elite basic troops and light specialists. They carry more powerful weapons and may exhibit abilities or traits that make them dangerous beyond the sheer force of numbers. These fighters are often designated as special forces, and are tough enough to handle intense, high-stakes missions. Units like the Kasrkin and the elite stormtroopers, the Tempestus Scions of the Imperial Guard, are exemplars of this tier. They are better trained, better armed, and more heavily armored than standard guardsmen, capable of performing critical missions that average troops cannot. In alien factions you have the Orc Commandos, skill in stealth tactics unusual for Orcs, the Tyranid warriors with greater power and resilience than lesser bioforms, and the Eldari Guardians, well trained with superior reflexes and agility. With their mix of skill, equipment, and aggression, Tier 3 fighters can tip the scales on a battlefield, often serving as a crucial buffer against higher tier units. So examples: Kasrkin, the Kroot, Tyranid warrior strains, Necron warriors, Orc Commandos, Orc Weird Boys, Tau Fire Warriors, Eldar Guardians, Chaos Beastmen, Accursed Cultists, Chaos Zangors, and the Adeptus Mechanicus Skitarii. Then next we have the Tier 4, the Elite level. At this tier, combatants start reaching a level of training, equipment, and resilience that commands respect even from Space Marines. They possess effective armor, refined combat skills, and weaponry that can pose a credible threat to the higher tier units, especially when fighting as a cohesive team. In a direct confrontation, a group of Tier 4 warriors could pressure or even take down a Space Marine if they have the element of surprise. They are often deployed to crucial objectives or serve as elite line troops and bodyguards for leaders. The abilities of the Sisters of Battle embody this tier within the Imperium, with power armor and boulders that make them formidable against most threats. Purebreed gene stealers amongst the deadliest of the Tyranid vanguard organisms are also here. They use blinding speed and brutal melee prowess to tear through opponents. Amongst Chaos forces, they are the weaker demons, creatures of warp-made flesh. They also make their presence known here, as do the adept Kabbalite warriors of the Drukhari, who wield highly advanced weapons and fight with ruthless skill. So examples: Sisters of Battle, Purebreed gene stealers, Tyranid raveners, Orc knobs, weaker Chaos demons, Elder fireblades and dire avengers, Drukhari Kabbalites, Primaris battle psychers, and most inquisitors. Now tier 5, the enhanced level. Now we reach a class of superhumans. These combatants are biologically enhanced, genetically modified, and outfitted with some of the best weaponry their factions can produce. Tier 5 marks the level of the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines who are trained to fight and survive the deadliest battles. Space Marines are the best of humanity, combining biological augmentation, relentless training, and advanced power armors to become true warrior monks. Amongst other factions, units at this level include the deadly Tyranid lictors, which are stealth predators who can ambush Marines and escape undetected. Chaos Space Marines corrupted by the forces of the Warp possess the same power as their loyalist counterparts, if not more, due to their unholy patronage. Then there are the Necron Destroyers, which are monstrous killers driven by an endless urge to exterminate all life, and they fit perfectly into this tier, as do the psychic-powered Eldari Howling Banshees, whose piercing battle screams can disorient and dismember even other enemies. Examples: Space Marines, Imperial Assassins, Sisters of Silence, Chaos Space Marines, Tyranid Lictors, Necron Destroyers, Tyranid Dragons, Orc Meganobs, Necron Deathmarks, Eldari Howling Banshees and Warp Spiders, Drukhari Cyberites, and the Mechanicus Secutors. Next, Tier 5.5, the Robo level. In this specialized category, which is parallel to the other biological ones, we find mechanical walkers and war machines that parallel the enhanced level, being more powerful than the average Space Marine. These units are imposing sights on the battlefield, wielding massive weapons and capable of shrugging off significant damage. They are essential mobile heavy weapons platforms, and while they aren't as versatile as flesh-blood warriors, they can wreak havoc in specific scenarios. Imperial Dreadnoughts exemplify this tier, containing the near-dead remains of fallen Marines sustained by an armored sarcophagus. These towering machines wield tremendous firepower and melee capabilities, often devastating entire enemy lines. Comparable units from other factions include the Tau Crisis battlesuits, which allow their pilots mobility and heavy firepower to compete with the Dreadnoughts, as well as the Tyranid Carnifexes, which are essentially massive biotanks with overwhelming physical strength. So examples: Dreadnoughts, Chaos Hellbrutes, Tau Crisis battlesuits, Eldari Wraithguard, Orc Killercans, Tyranid Carnifexes, Necron Canotech Raids, and the Mechanicus Battle Automatons. Next, Tier 6, the Super Enhanced level. So Tier 6 steps things up significantly. These warriors are well beyond the power of average Marines. Many of these combatants are elite among elites, wielding ancient weapons or psychic powers that set them apart from the common rank and file Marines. They are often leaders, champions, and often unique bioforms from the other Xenos that are designed to dominate the battlefield. On the battle, these combatants can face and outmatch multiple standard Marines and may even challenge entire squads single-handedly. This tier includes the Chapter Masters, the Astartes champions who wield powerful relics and have centuries of experience. The Tyranid Hive Tyrant is also here and commands the Hive Fleet's invasion force with its psychic power and massive bioweapons, while the Necron Destroyer Lords, with their mix of ancient tech and strategic brilliance, are devastating on the battlefield. Similarly, Orc War Bosses, which are massive and brutal, can dominate most opponents through sheer strength and cunning. So examples: Chapter Masters, Necron Destroyer Lords, Blood Letters, Gene Stealer Brute Lords, Space Marine and Chaos Champions, Tyranid Hive Tyrants, Tyranid Non-Emissaries, Orc War Bosses, Necron Lich Guard, Eldari Warlocks, Eldari Harlequins, Drukhari Mandrakes, the Incubi, Chaos Lords, Chaos Sorcerers, and the Mechanicus Dominus Magi. Next we have Tier 6.5, which is the Mech level. So this is also a parallel power scaling, which includes mechanical walkers that are at a level of Knights of the Imperium. They are a dreadful sight in the battlefield and can only be taken down by heavy weapons and entire contingents of troops focusing solely on them, or by others of their own kind, or others with a similar power level. So examples are the Knights of the Imperium, the Eldari Wraith Knights, the Orc Stompers, the Tau Heavy Battlesuits, Chaos Knights, Tyranid Sub-Titan Bioforms, Necron Seraptic Heavy Constructs, and Gigantic Squiggles. Then we come to Tier 7, the Hyper level. This tier is for truly elite warriors, those whose skills and power dwarf even the mighty Space Marines. Combatants at this level are so advanced and deadly that they often seem untouchable by lower tier forces. A Custodian, for instance, can handle entire squads of Space Marines with terrifying efficiency. Even the smallest slip or strategy or skill by a lower tier combatant can result in near instant death when facing a hyper level opponent. These beings exhibit near superhuman reflexes, strength and endurance, often backed by centuries if not millennia of experience. In the case of Custodes, each is a handcrafted warrior, genetically and spiritually superior, serving as the Emperor's personal guard and embodying his will. Similarly, Chaos Greater Daemons are entities of pure warp energy, and they are here in this list, capable of overwhelming minds and physical defenses, while the Eldari Solitaires and Phoenix Lords possess such mastery of war that they can dispatch even elite warriors with ease of this same level. At this level, even one such individual on the battlefield is enough to change the course of a fight, providing both morale boosts to allies and instilling terror in enemies. So examples: Custodes, Chaos Greater Demons, Eldari Solitaires, Eldari Phoenix Lords, Orc Warlords, Chaos Demon Princes, Necron Overlords, the Tyranid Swarm Lord, the Doom of Melantai, Eldari Farseers and Autarchs, Drukhari Archons, and some select Archmagi of the Mechanicus. Next, Tier 7.5, the Titan level. This is a unique parallel tier reserved for colossal war machines above the Mecha and Robo levels, with power on par with or even surpassing that of hyper levels, primarily due to their sheer size and devastating weaponry. The combatants in this tier are essentially mobile apocalypse engines, towering above most other forces and capable of wiping out entire regiments with a single volley. Only specially designed weapons, often unique to other titanic entities, can hope to bring them down. Titans are revered symbols of power and serve as unstoppable engines of war on the battlefield, worshipped and feared by the Imperial citizens and enemies alike. Tyranid Biotitans are equally nightmarish in scale, bred by the hive mind to counter and surpass the Imperium's war machines, which are built through crude engineering and sheer willpower of the Wa, and they are walking fortresses, while the Eldari Revenants and the Tau KX-139 Taunar battlesuits combine agility with firepower, proving that these giants don't have to be lumbering behemoths. Even the Eldari Avatar of Cain, an incarnate god of war in molten metal form, ranks among these titanic entities for its raw power and devastating impact in any engagement. So examples: Imperial Titans, Tyranid Biotitans or Gargants, Eldari Revenants, Tau KX-139 Taunar battlesuits, Eldari Avatar of Cain, and the Chaos Titans. Now Tier 8, which are the demigod level, is one of the top tiers in this list. At a demigod level, beings become nigh invulnerable with strength, intelligence, and speed beyond mortal comprehension. These entities command immense influence, serving as the leaders of the entire empire's factions or hive fleets. Their physical prowess is bolstered by supernatural or technological means that make them nearly invincible on the battlefield. Typically, killing such a being requires the full force of an entire army or a coordinated strike using the most powerful weaponry available. Primarchs, the godlike sons of the Emperor, fit squarely into this tier. They are master strategists, superhumanly resilient, and possess psychic or even great physical power that dwarfs even the strongest Space Marines and Custodes. They can be stopped only by other demigod tier or high combatants or by intense overwhelming force. The Silent King of the Necrons commands such intellect and tactical acumen that he has eluded death over millennia, while demon primarchs are infused with warp energy, rendering them nearly immortal. Constantine Valdor, the legendary Custodes captain, and Malcador the Sigillite, with his profound psychic abilities, also embodied this tier, displaying power so overwhelming that even elite warriors tread cautiously in their presence. Also examples: Primarchs, the Silent King, the mightiest Greater Daemons, the Orc Beasts from M32, the Necron Pharaons, Vashtor the Archiphane, Demon Primarchs, Tyranid Non-Queens, Constantine Valdor, and Malcador the Sigillite. So up next is Tier 9, the Pseudo-God level, reserved for the most incomprehensible powerful beings in the galaxy. The Pseudo-God tier includes entities that can influence and manipulate events across interstellar distances. These beings are more than mere leaders. They are figures of worship and awe, whose very presence or influence can alter the course of entire wars. Their powers extend beyond physical strength, encompassing godlike intellect, the ability to manipulate reality, and unparalleled psychic or warp-based power. The Emperor of Mankind, in his full might, held this level of power before the Siege of Terra that nearly cost his life. His reach extended across the galaxy, and he could directly influence events from his throne on Terra. The Eldari gods, which are remnants of the Eldari Empire's mythic past, possess powers that touch the minds of all their kin. The Khitan star gods defy the laws of reality itself, bending space and time with ease. Then there is the hive mind, which is a consciousness of the Tyranids and is capable of controlling trillions of organisms spread over entire hive fleets across or even beyond the galaxy. Then there's the Siege of Terra Horus, which is beyond comprehension in power, juiced up by all the 4 Chaos gods, and also the mysterious entity called the Dominus, which falls into this category, possessing psychic energy and power so immense that it can level entire armies and enslave entire civilizations and star systems with its mere thoughts. So examples: the Emperor of Mankind, the Eldari gods, the Khitan star gods, the Demon King who challenged Zinj, the Tyranid hive mind, the Old Ones who died out, the Siege of Terra Horus juiced up beyond comprehension, and the Dominus. And finally, Tier 10, God level. At the highest point of the scale, God level beings transcend physical reality, time, and conventional understanding. These entities are interdimensional, existing beyond the constraints of the material universe, and their power can influence events across vast spans of time and space. They are immortal in the truest sense, without beginning or end, embodying concepts and powers that exist beyond or outside the mortal realm's comprehension. Such beings can reshape entire scenarios, warp reality, and manipulate countless minds and worlds effortlessly. The Chaos Gods Khorne, Zinj, Nurgle, and Slanesh are beings of pure warp energy, embodying primal emotions and forces that drive the galaxy. They are beyond moral perception, their influence touching countless lives and shaping entire realms according to their whims. Then there's Gork and Mork, the Orc gods, which exist as entities whose power aligns with the collective psychic might of the Wa. Then there is the Emperor of Mankind, who briefly ascended as the Dark King during the Siege of Terra, and also reached a comparable level of power, and maybe now, in his golden throne, after gestating for 10,000 years, he might have actually reached the power of a god-level being. So examples: Chaos Gods Khorne, Zinj, Nurgle, Slanesh, then the Orc Gods, Gork and Mork, and the God Emperor of Mankind, briefly as the Dark King, who might have turned into the 5th Chaos God. So that's the end of this video on Warhammer power scaling. If you like this, then watch this other one too, and if you want to browse for other sci-fi content and Warhammer content, then check out our channel. So subscribe, like for supporting this video, and also share it with your friends. They might have not seen it as the algorithm barely promotes us. Anyway, till the next time, take care, boys.